Growing up, video games were magic. After school, I'd hop onto Roblox, Minecraft, or whatever LEGO game I decided to be obsessed with and play. My brother and I would spend hundreds of hours on Smash Melee or Super Monkey Ball 2, Naruto Clash of Ninja 2, and other games that, worked. Games that had to work because there was no ability to fix post-release. No 100GB day one updates. So many developers poured their hearts, souls, and their very lives into working overtime to make sure the final product was nothing short of excellent. This isn't to say those games don't have glitches, but those games function. There were no excuses to go around, and the developers weren't sitting on Twitter complaining about poor sales and the gamer demographic. Fast forward to today, and gaming is effectively cooked. With every new game release, our hardware gets stronger, except when it doesn't.
He described in his post how he was playing Battlefield 5, and he saw about 500 to 520 watts under load. He then experienced a burnt smell and shut down his system. Then he investigated everything, and he found his card damaged.
Studios are blitzing through hundreds of millions only to release games so shitty and clear cash grabs full of problems shifted onto the consumer. Brand new hardware should not be struggling with brand new releases. In 2016, Nvidia released the GTX 1080. It was a graphics card better than nearly any before its time. It was the first consumer GPU that had a real difference in the previous generation. Built in the Pascal architecture, it brought an insane leap in efficiency and performance. And in 2017, they did it again. The GTX 1080 Ti was beyond legendary. It had, no pun intended, an unreal 11GB of VRAM. Nearly tightened performance for much less, and it held its ground for years. It killed every performance benchmark, and people running ultra high resolution games and tests with this thing well into the early 2020s. When we fast forward to today, what do we get? Mid to low range GPUs that are remixes of these two graphics cards with some AI gimmicks slapped on and RTX functionality, which is a subjective word given the state of gaming. The RTX 4060, a side grade to the 3060. The 4060 Ti, somehow weaker than a 3070 in many cases. Every new lower end or budget or consumer grade GPU feels like a cash grab. Marginally more performance, but with clipped memory, higher power draw, and a price tag that makes you wonder if Nvidia is trying to push people towards AMD. GPUs year after year are only slightly improving, if at all, and for the ever-increasing power draw, I have to ask, is it worth it? If the 1080 Ti could handle 90% of games at high resolutions a mere 3 to 5 years ago, why does a 40 and even 50 series cards struggle? These are almost 3 GPU generations later. The damage that Unreal Engine 5 has done to the gaming industry is truly unforgivable. Games used to work. How can you tell a Western game dev has been here? 5 FPS with a 4070 and a 200GB game with a 40GB patch. Every purchase is a gamble, and I am a gambling man, but for a $1,500 GPU and a $90 game, I don't think so. I know I just shit on Unreal 5, but it's not the worst engine. I do think it's done damage to the gaming industry, but that's more so about who's using it and who's in charge of the people that do use it. Seriously, it's easy for things to be poorly optimized and games to have insane bottlenecks on hardware, but at the same time, it's just as easy to take the effort, time, and proper care to optimize your games. There are tons of ways to even begin to go about it, but today's devs aren't doing that. The people who've ended up using Unreal are both lazy and forced to cram for deadlines, leading to hellish performance in most games made on it. I'm not even going to touch the Unreal monopoly and what Epic is trying to do via censorship and controlling what's mentioned in games. You can watch someone else talk about that. I don't want to approach that with a 10-foot pole. But the engine itself still runs so poorly, and it's such a shame because it really does look good. And I support the furthering of technology, but we're rug pulling people with lower end hardware, and we've all been psyoped into believing we need stronger computers and components. But if graphics and hardware truly are getting better, why do games still look like 2015 but run like shit? Obviously, not every game looks like that, but to me, I think we've been following the law of diminishing marginal returns for quite a while. I think a lot of gaming graphics peaked with Battlefield 1. Battlefield 1 still looks great, and it will still look great, and that's without RTX, without DLSS, FSR, frame gen, or whatever the hell you need to even play a modern game nowadays. People who have lower end PCs just have to contend with the fact they won't be able to stay up to date, and people with consoles are getting lied to because they are promised games to run at high frame rates.
it's going to usher in resolution and frame rates that we've never seen before. Like, never seen before.
We're looking at frame rates up to 120 frames per second.
Meanwhile, this generation has just become with 60 FPS what the Xbox One and PS4 were with 30. My first PC had an AMD FX 4100 and a GTX 750 Ti. It ran most of what I wanted to, very poorly, but it wasn't the worst thing ever. There are people stuck in a similar and nearly modern equivalent to that nowadays, but they can't play new games. I could at least play Doom 2016 until the very end at low settings. Most new games nowadays downright require all the graphical hacks to get around poor optimization. The devs just go, it's okay, the RTX people can handle it, when that's not true.
Hey yo, chill the fuck out, yo. You sitting there playing with the fucking
New games are not designed to be played with low-spec systems, and the fact that hardware has increased to such a level they can just go, it's a next-gen game, you need a next-gen system.
We really do push the technology, so you may need to upgrade your PC for this game, but it's got a lot of great stuff going on in it, and the fans are responding awesome.
When in reality it's due to poor development choices. Corporations are pushing out high-budget games that they think are their brand new cash cows that end up dead on arrival, live service, or double whammy of both in the case of Concord. Or if you want to throw back, the Suicide Squad game, Forspoken, or Redfall, games that nearly 2 years later almost no one is playing. Developers now brute force their games through the engines they use and force the end user to bear the weight of it. Games should not be using 90% of the CPU. They should not be constantly bottlenecking. They should not be asking the user upon startup to use FrameGen before the scenes even load. Games should not look like the PS3 while running like the PS3. Games don't need to be this bloated either. Some of the most feature-rich and dense games keep their disk size relatively well maintained, but games nowadays just throw that away. Any of the recent Call of Duty games are a good example of this. So is Jedi Survivor, and this doesn't just go out to bad games either. I think a lot of great games have too much disk space that they take up. Baldur's Gate 3 is 147 gigabytes, and if you want me to mention the games that I talked about earlier, Forspoken requires 150, and Redfall and the immensely broken Battlefield 2042 were both 100 gigabytes each. Talking about broken games nowadays, a lot of them, are released with tons of performance issues or downright just broken upon launch. To me, I think this phenomenon really started with No Man's Sky, Fallout 76, and Cyberpunk 2077, and then every dev was like, it's okay, we can ship out a bad product and then patch it later. It's true that with PC ports of games in the past, like Assassin's Creed Unity, that this has always kind of been a thing, but in recent years it has been on the incline. And the sad thing is that these studios used to have credibility. Bethesda was behind Fallout 3, Oblivion, and Skyrim, some of the most popular modern era RPGs. I mean, their game design was never the best thing imaginable, but it was still cool. And same thing with CD Projekt Red. They did all of the Witcher games, and The Witcher 3 is one of the best games ever. And to go from creating that to releasing Cyberpunk 2077, totally disrespecting the fan base and the people who supported them to this point. Speaking of disrespecting the fans, big thanks to the sponsor of today's video, me. Join my YouTube membership. You get the single benefit of priority comment reply. Consider Patreon. The first tier is literally just giving me money, and the next one is $4 to get your name in the credits. Okay, back to the video. The we'll fix it later mentality has been in practice at this point for a little over a decade. Ship broken game, deliver gradual patch for the most egregious of issues, leave every other bug in the game, slap a sticker on it, call it a new update, there you go, forget about it forever. Everyone has a game they regularly play that most likely stopped getting important updates, or the quality of those updates has drastically declined throughout the years for many different reasons, whether it's the developer getting tired of the game, having less passion and interest towards it, wanting to switch gears towards something new. But the problem with creating nearly anything new is that many of these developers who lack passion in one project, that same lack of passion translates as well. Forced deadlines bring out the worst. Leaving developers apathetic to the product they make and working on the game post-deadline forces the consumer to deal with massive patches on day one or shortly thereafter. When Fallout 76 came out, it was very apparent that Bethesda's best and brightest of their A-team were not the ones who worked on it, which led to so many issues, but as we found out later, the whole studio had issues. The B-team was forced to develop so much of it because the promises up to this point and the deadlines demanded it as such. The problem here is that you cannot force creativity and quality. If the person making it does not have that inner desire, then it does not matter. For so many new games nowadays, it seems that developers don't care about the product they release. They simply release it, collect some level of profit, and abandon any future development besides what they planned. Which I understand, but for so many games there's a plan they stick to as far as rolling out updates. But where's the passion in that? Where's the energy, the interest, the intent, the talent? It reeks of apathy and is so sad to see in the current gaming climate. Development studios and publishers will tell you all types of lies about how they wanted to put out this game for decades.
Starfield is our first new universe in over 25 years. It's a game we've dreamt of playing. And it's only now that we have the hardware, the technology, and the experience to push our creative boundaries even further.
How this particular IP is one of the executive's brainchild dream or whatever. And they say all of that to get you to go, wow, this must mean the game is good. Supposedly, Todd Howard's brainchild for the last 2 decades has been Starfield. Ah yes, the terrible space RPG in quotation marks. But not the Elder Scrolls games, not Skyrim, not the Fallouts, not the games he sold 5 times over, not the games he had 16 times the detail, no. This linear story game is the RPG he wanted to make. Fuck off. The games are just boring, dude. Take the L and take the hint and come back around with a less outdated and more high quality product. Don't get mad at the fans for not liking your game when it sucks. Don't attack reviewers saying bullshit like the astronauts weren't upset with the real planets were empty. This is a video game. The planets didn't have to be empty.
Bear in mind, this is the same team that was doing the stuff back with Fallout 76 where, like, if somebody had their account banned because they were suspected of cheating, Bethesda asked them to write a 500-word essay on why cheating in an online game is bad.
The current AAA selling price for games is $70, and publishers and developers oftentimes do not account for the currency conversion for international players. In some countries, it is much harder for the average person to make money equivalent to $70. Some people aren't brain dead and make these changes accordingly, but for someone who lives in Turkey or Brazil to play a game that's $70, they're gonna have to save for quite a while. Why do you think piracy is rampant in Eastern Europe? They can't afford this shit, dude. Come on. It was very clear that games did not need to be $70. $60 has been standard for a while because it worked. Games are cheaper than ever to release, earning more profit than ever, and still somehow they have to account for supposed inflation? It's even worse after the Switch 2 announcement. I can't afford a $90 game. There's less going into the actual selling now than ever before. You don't need discs. A digital marketplace is all you need. You're raising the price of games to account for putting it on a digital marketplace? And for all the people who are going to come in here and defend Nintendo for the $90 price, you don't tariff digital goods. Picture this. You bought a new game, you start it up, get through the tutorial, play some levels and required progression points, and then they let you go around the open world. And the open world is boring as fuck. It feels like every game nowadays is weighed down by bad open world segments. The quests are simple because they can't do anything crazy since it takes place in the open world. Nothing major happens, you just roam around. Some games can do it right, I suppose, like RPGs that have decently fleshed out worlds, but this is one of the biggest gripes I had with LEGO Star Wars Skywalker Saga. The levels you rush through are the basic Star Wars story. You rush through that just so you can play the open world, but the open world is empty. It's boring and repetitive. A couple years ago, everyone made fun of the Ubisoft open world experience, a seemingly full and expansive world that upon further inspection is incredibly empty, and not only empty but lacking. What is there are simple things like fetch quests, or go and kill one person, etc., etc. And sometimes you don't even get to do that. It can especially be a problem in survival games like DayZ, Rust, and Unturned. The open world survival nature forces you to explore more and move towards towns and more condensed locations. I can give Some games a pass for being free, but if I'm paying $40 to walk around a forest until I get a gun and then get killed, I think I'll pass. And I understand those 3 are last decade examples, and time has indeed passed, but open world games at least try to do something new even when they failed. Nowadays, the very concept of an open world is not new, and developers think it's just something they have to include in their game. Year after year, we see people subscribe to the bigger map equals better game mentality, but it feels lifeless, copy and pasting assets and using AI-generated text. And
welcome to the Come Zone.
Developers and publishers want their games to be bigger than ever. New games promise to be bigger than ever, while delivering that at least on the disk size, where many companies rely on AI to fill the gaps or cut corners with developers. I pray on the downfall of the AI bubble every day. Algorithms are being called AI when they used to be just code, and algorithms for controlling parts of the game. Throwing the word around to garner attention on their game, to me, reeks of a lack of confidence in the final product. The fact that the developer or publisher feels the need to push their game through a gimmick shows that they may not have ever really cared about it. It's disgusting, and it's something that's seeped into every part of the process. A lot of new games that have procedural map generation isn't even better than Minecraft, which was a procedural generation algorithm from over a decade ago. Why are we even using AI in games? What part of AI is genuinely good at anything that's not organization? AI can't even draw a full wine glass because it does not have the thinking capability. It cannot grasp the concept because none of its data is based on anything or has anything like that in it. AI is incapable of nuance, whether that's the story of a game being finished or its world being designed, and you lose the human touch that only a skilled creator has with world building and storytelling. You lose the ability to add special touches and Easter eggs that connect with other areas in the game and link everything together. You lose foreshadowing, passion, and good writing overall. No amount of algorithms or AI or whatever, no amount of innovation and investment into this is going to fix AI art. The whole point of art is that it's authentic and not from a machine or computer, that it comes from the inner desire for someone to express themselves and their creativity, and it stomps all over that. I would rather be forced to quit YouTube altogether than rely on AI to make every part of my video. Why the hell would you want it advertised on your game that you used AI in it? Why the hell would you want that label? You're killing any chance of longevity, any chance of this being a game for the history books, all in exchange for that AI soul selling and chance to make a little bit of quick profit. You will not be remembered for being creative or using that for any real purpose other than replacing human beings when that was unnecessary. You are instantly labeling yourself as a product of its time, if you even get the benefit of being remembered as such. I remember when the definitive edition of Rockstar's GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas came out, and people speculated they were using AI, and honestly, it was so shit they might have. A lot of games in the last decade that have come out have been remakes and remasters, and I don't have a problem with that as a concept. It's just often a lot of these remakes are worse quality than the original due to things I've already talked about, including bad optimization, boring open worlds, price, and it feeling soulless. Some of these companies who had their originals on digital marketplaces have put up their horrible remasters and taken down the originals in their place. Rockstar did it with the GTA games I just mentioned. Disgusting behavior. And it seems like more into the 2020s, we're slowly moving away from studios wanting to not make new IPs, and I really like that. There have been some great brand new games amidst the swarm of garbage. Hi-Fi Rush was great, and then they shut down the studio. Atom Fall is by the guys who did Sniper Elite, and it seems really good so far. Atomic Heart was certainly a game of all time. At least they tried something new. Starfield was new, but boy, it was not good. I mean, I won't beat you over the head with why that is. You've most likely seen videos about it. Man, Starfield's so atrocious the modders don't even want to work on it. Bethesda's saving grace for all of their games post-launch has always been modders. The modders don't even like this shit, dude. Modders offer a unique perspective to a game because if it's a game they like enough, they'll gladly add free content you can put into your game simply for nothing more than the drive and the desire and the enjoyment of coding for something they're passionate about. Unfortunately, not all modders and mods go unnoticed. Mojang hired the guy who made the Aether and the guy who made the Horses mod. However, they also banned some mods they don't like, vastly overstepping their bounds. It would behoove me if Bethesda was unaware of the modding scene for their games. Due to the fact they have a paid mod section, they love updating decade-old games to push a useless update or add a new paid version to break every single mod possible. Actually unreal. Modding capabilities simply allow the player to get more out of a game they already paid for, and for the capitalist hellscape powers that be, that isn't good enough. Someone needs to pay and someone needs to be paid. It's not enough to get something for free or have something sent into the public domain and the public good. Like I said earlier, not all companies like mods. Some don't like it when it breaks their ever-changing rules they forced you to sign after you purchased the game. Some take your account away on the evil charge of modding. Some mark you with a punishment forever, and then there's Nintendo. Companies overstepping their bounds is nothing new. Japan recently had issues with MasterCard and Visa blocking purchases on doujinshi websites because the companies had moral issues with explicit material.
What, bitch? Is a
credit card
talking to me? Is a
credit card
talking to me?
Companies should not pretend they have morals when it's abundantly clear they don't and they exist to make money. What does this have to do with gaming? I hear you typing right now. Great question. Earlier in the video when I spoke about the Unreal Engine, Epic Games have terms of service and required rules for your game if you make it with their engine. On the surface, I understand the reasoning for this idea. I understand that a company should decide what happens with their product. But the consumer in me and the creator in me does not want to be stifled and controlled. In recent years, Microsoft and Mojang have cracked down harder than ever on the greater Minecraft Java Edition community, but also the Bedrock community, releasing the most hated update of all time, 1.19, introducing the brand new chat reporting feature, which I even made a rant about right here on the info card, while not finishing or releasing, and in some cases removing, other important and promised features from the update, yet making sure chat reporting functioned in some capacity, which it didn't, by the way.
Minecraft.
This even led to Swedish YouTuber Kian Bros, I'm definitely pronouncing that wrong, suing Mojang for the haphazard EULA and rule changes. It's not the job of the company to be morally right. It's like how during Pride Month, tons of companies change their logos to have a rainbow flag, when we know they don't really care. It's not their job to care. It's not Mojang's job to control content they don't like, and to babysit children. Once again, the issue is bad parenting that people don't want to confront. When you buy a game, fundamentally, you kind of want to own the game. Our instincts want us to. You spent this money on a game and you don't have much to show for it? Mojang created an end-user license agreement that essentially gives them control over everything of what you can and cannot make in Minecraft. And that on its own, once again, is fine. But it's the fact they changed parts of it at will. It's the fact they were okay with guns in their game for over a decade. And then all of a sudden, nope, can't do it. It's the fact they demand modders take certain mods down for breaking their imaginary rules. It's the fact that modders work tirelessly on this game just to get their stuff stolen and uploaded to the Minecraft marketplace, while poor idiots spend money on Bug Rock Edition for it to never work properly. And I could talk about Minecraft and Mojang, unfortunately, forever. I just don't want to.
Donald Trump, if you can hear us, please, Donald Trump.
Which gets to my penultimate point. Greed runs rampant in the gaming industry, and it's not just the gaming industry. Greed is present everywhere, treating their workers well and paying them a living wage, as opposed to giving all that money to shareholders. The same kind of thing is here. Players want higher quality products, while developers and publishers exist to give shareholders profit. Whereas with Ubisoft, they will soon not exist and be bought out by Tencent and serve the glorious People's Republic of China.
Inshallah, your destiny is to be obliterated by Chinese Dongfeng missile.
Bye-bye, Russia!
The urge for corporate interest in the gaming industry to lower the standard while raising the price, to me, is truly and utterly disgusting, and arguably worse than any other problem I've mentioned with modern gaming up to this point in the video. I think greed being a big thing trumps them all. Greed is like the biggest current problem I see harming the gaming industry and pushing us toward a future of sad and unfortunate mediocrity. The more we hear from gaming execs and corporate individuals, whether about them pretending to be good at games or whatnot, whether it's about game journalists trying to convince us that $70 and up is an okay price for games, or whether it's an exec telling us we should get comfortable with not owning our products, the more I realize just how out of touch execs and companies are with the average video game player and consumer, and just how much they don't understand. The greed forces them to be out of touch and unaware of what people think. And on one hand, I get it. They're a company, they're here to make money, and to get what they can from the consumer in the form of profit. Fine. The system pushes corporations into this sort of measure, and it's not really possible to change that. So what? Are we forced to just deal with bad game release cycles, poor quality of new AAA games, and a market that continuously forgets who their target audience is while shaming them? Are we forced to just take everything standing? I'd rather die standing than live kneeling. Is this the pinnacle and the limit of what gaming can be? We know that video games are capable of greatness, that magic we felt that was tangible when we were children, that same passion behind the box art of games that we bought in store, that same enthusiasm shown by the developers. As a whole, the time for gaming felt more real and grounded, and people didn't take so much for granted in their daily lives. AAA devs forgot who they are, and they abandoned their base to leave it in the dust, with $70 slop and supposed surplus shareholder value. The whole thing with the Switch 2 not only getting its price inflated due to tariffs hitting soon is the fucking cherry on top. I don't know if they get it. People aren't going to be buying this for like 3 years. I have to eat and survive. I don't have Switch 2 money, bro. And that's before I tell you, the games are going to be higher priced as well. I don't have $90 for a Switch game. Yeah, and like I said earlier in the video, you don't tariff digital goods. Digital goods can't be tariffed. You're not importing anything. Nintendo likes to push their consumers as far as they can and then suplex them after they pay to get in the front row. That's a little wrestling analogy for you. Nintendo has long since needed a reality check, and I can only hope this will make them realize just how cooked they are for embracing their greed. Nintendo adults are the fucking Disney adults of gaming, dude. They worship Nintendo when Nintendo doesn't care about them. They don't care if they live or die, and they probably want them to die, since Nintendo cares so much about how people play their games and their intellectual property, including how they get mad that people are playing the game how they want to. But all this doesn't mean we as consumers have to take this. We don't have to buy AAA games. We don't have to buy any games. The market of AAA games has this issue where every few years it's terrible and then it's kind of okay again, and then it's terrible and then it's kind of okay again, and so on and so forth. AA games and indie devs will always exist unless governments get together and require licenses for making video games like the UK would for owning a fucking TV, but I digress. Overall, I did kind of explain a lot of reasons why gaming is cooked, and like a lot of other videos you've seen about this topic, it is all Jover, but like the phoenix that takes rise from the ashes, it's time to start anew and turn our line of thinking around. If the modern gaming scene, and especially AAA, is cooked, don't partake. Indie games are the saving grace for the industry right now, and maybe not even fully indie, but stuff that isn't all the way AAA is showing to be great as well. I think more and more as we enter the late capitalist hellscape, all of our media is slowly beginning to split, where the slop we're given by big corporations is getting worse and worse, and the stuff made by real people is where the experimentation and innovation is really taking place, and the powers that be don't want the lesser known gaining any traction at all. In many cases, the shift already happened. Minecraft was the biggest game of last decade until Fortnite came along, but other indie games like Undertale, Stardew Valley, Hollow Knight, Celeste, FNAF, and Friday Night Funkin' showed that you can make it without falling in line and without compromising, even though they have some of the worst fucking fan bases imaginable. If you are a fan of one of these games, unsubscribe, dislike the video. Overall, yes, I threw the title on here and engaged in a large amount of negativity in this video, because generally I am worried about where things are going. I think there's a good path to keeping quality in the art of video games alive, but right now it doesn't feel great to see as a consumer and as a player. My real, genuine opinion is that gaming is not necessarily cooked, but a lot of the industry is, for all of the reasons I spent so long explaining earlier. Independent devs are innovating and doing what mainstream won't or doesn't want to. People are crossing unique ideas into brand new concepts that haven't been thought of before. But maybe I'm not the person who should be making this video. I don't really have time for video games so much in my daily life anymore. I'm looking for jobs, trying to graduate on time. The newest games that I've played are the Ace Attorney Investigations Collection, which is an official translation of a game that I played the fan translation of a long time ago, Web Fishing and Power Wash Simulator. Not exactly a spectacular lineup. Part of that is also why I'm exactly the person who should be making this video. I'm something of an outsider right now, wanting to get back into my old hobby, but it looks scary and unenticing. Is this the gaming industry I came back to? I certainly don't remember it being this bad when I was younger. But all of that considered, there are reasons for how gaming is cooked and how gaming is not cooked. There's the yes and no, the yin and yang, and sometimes shit don't be black and white, it be Hispanic. I think the mainstream gaming is totally done for, but as far as other things, there's a ton of great stuff out there. It's like music. You need to find what you want and look into it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and like always, peace out, thanks for watching, like and subscribe, a dank pancake out.